Welcome back to the channel. Today we're trying to figure out what the heck the Seahawks plan is for the short and long term. If you enjoyed this kind of content, please consider subscribing. Let's get into it. Before we can look ahead, we have to understand just how far the Seahawks have come. They've been a pillar of consistency since Pete Carroll arrived in 2010. They've only missed the playoffs twice in his 12-year stint as head coach, once in 2011 and then again last year. 7 wins is the lowest the team has had in this time frame. They've had the 6th most wins in the NFL since 2010, with 2 Super Bowl appearances and 1 Super Bowl victory. Pete is a great coach, and he's proved a lot of people wrong. They were justified in their thinking, though, since his previous trips to the NFL with the Jets and Patriots were complete flops. But Pete is not the sole reason that things have been this good in Seattle. The beginning of the success came from one of the best defenses to ever play in the NFL. The Legion of Boom was born under Gus Bradley and continued under the supervision of Dan Quinn. During the 2012 to 2015 seasons, the Seahawks led the league in scoring defense, allowing the fewest points scored each year for 4 years straight. The only other team to accomplish this feat were the Cleveland Browns of the 1950s. The 2013 defense led the league in points allowed, yards allowed, and takeaways, the first team to lead all 3 categories since the 1985 Chicago Bears. The 2013 unit is widely regarded as one of the best single-season defenses of all time. Since the Legion of Boom original members have all gone on to retire or to other teams, the defense has come back down to earth, but is consistently towards the middle of the pack. The offense, however, started taking off in 2014. The offense for the Seahawks had finished in the top 10 in points scored just 4 times in the 10 years prior, finishing outside the top 20 in 4 years as well. In the 8 seasons since, they finished in the top 10 5 times and never outside the top 20. Consistency was key in this franchise with Russell Wilson at the helm. I say all of that to say that this franchise as a whole was regarded as one of the best in the entire league for the last decade. In the 2021 season, they struggled mightily between Russell Wilson getting injured and then never getting back to full strength, and the defense ranking 28th in yards allowed, which meant they were on the field for the majority of games, losing the possession battle significantly. It was clear that they needed to add help on their O-line, in their secondary, and possibly address some coordinator positions. We knew that Russell Wilson was open to being traded, but he also never would publicly request one because that's the type of person that he is. This offseason was a crossroads for the team no matter what, but I can't believe some of the decisions they've made and the moves that they haven't made. First, let's look at the Russell Wilson trade. The Seahawks gave up Wilson and a 4th-round pick to get a 1st and 2nd in 2022 and a 1st and 3rd in 2023, plus Drew Lock, Shelby Harris, and Noah Fant. Now, if you are one of the 8 people who watched my video about that trade, you'll know that I think Denver won the trade, but ultimately it wasn't terrible for Seattle. They get a nice young player in Fant, and I think Shelby Harris will provide good depth on the line. Drew Lock makes no sense to me, as I don't see how he's going to be the QB going forward, though. We can live with the trade because we still have some stud players, right? Well, the Seahawks cut Bobby Wagner, the 3-time All-Pro middle linebacker who is the heart and soul of the defense. Then, they released Carlos Dunlap, who in just a season and a half with the team accumulated 13.5 sacks. They've re-signed a couple players in Quandre Diggs, Ryan Neal, and Sidney Jones, but their big free agent signings at this point are Uchenna Nwosu and Quentin Jefferson. It appears they are in full rebuild mode, but why do they feel the need to do so? Their coach will turn 71 years old this year, they no longer have a franchise quarterback, and it appears there's no direction in sight for the team. This brings us to the draft. But Rex, they added 2 first-round picks. Well, don't forget they gave up 2 of their own to get Jamal Adams, who has been a bust in his own right. So for this year, they have picks 9, 40, 41, and 72 in the first 3 rounds. For this draft to be successful and get them moving in the right direction, they'll have to use those picks or free agency to get their quarterback of the future, a starting middle linebacker, and at least another starter on defense. With the 9th overall pick, they should be able to accomplish one of the 3, but this quarterback class has been called weak. Will they risk their top 10 pick for a potential bust when there are some surefire corners and linebackers that are available? I guess we will wait and see. My overall thoughts on this offseason for the Seahawks can be summed up in 3 words. Okay, but why? I hope I'm wrong and they recover quickly. Drew Lock is a franchise quarterback who was in a bad spot, and maybe they signed Danny Trevathan as a stopgap for a couple years. I just don't see it happening. So if you're a Seahawks fan, just know that this isn't hate. This is me being frustrated as someone who respects the franchise and has loved how they built it up. I hope I'm wrong about it all. If you think there's another team who had a worse or more confusing offseason, comment down below. Consider subscribing if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see y'all next time.